Welcome, Leo, to your in-depth monthly forecast for May 2024 for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the month. And the first planet we need to feature is your ruler. That's the Sun. And he is at 11 degrees and 6 minutes in Taurus, which is very much to do for you in house 10, how you interact with the wider world. So whether it's in terms of your leadership skills, the guidance you give people, perhaps as a parent, it may be to do with your interactions in your local community, or in terms of goals and ambitions professionally. That's where the Sun starts this month. But you can see Venus, the ruler of the sign of Taurus, is at 1 degrees and 52, and therefore is the most prominent player in this particular chart. And that suggests, therefore, your people skills, your a way of relating, often charismatic, can definitely be blushed as you begin this month. So that looks really promising. And as you probably know, Jupiter and Uranus, also in the 10th house, came together on the 21st of April for the first time in 14 years. Jupiter very much about being positive, progression, expansion. Uranus can be much more disruptive. So it is the case that over the last 5 or 6 years, there may have been a lot of changes around your role in life or your professional situation. But as this month begins, on the face of it, it looks like it's going to be very positive for you. But when I say on the face of it, I just want to draw your attention to house 7. Pluto, the planet of transformation, moved into your sector of relationships on the 21st of January. And at the start of this month, the moon is very close to Pluto. That suggests that there can be some intensity around relationships this month. And if you look at the degree of Pluto at 206 and the degree of Venus at 152, just under 2 minutes, they are actually chaffing. They're in a right angle. So however much you do try to approach things in the right way, you try to cultivate the right kind of relationships, some politics could show themselves, perhaps in professional relationships. And especially if you're trying to put a marker down with Pluto's help to reinforce your boundaries. So if you've tended to be someone who's been very obliging in terms of supporting your employer, your business, your colleagues, or you've invested a lot of energy in your own enterprise, what's important to you at this time is that you do also protect your interests. So if you are a natural bohemian, all these influences in the 10th house are good, particularly with Uranus being there, but you're not going to want to give away your power. And Pluto can be about power. Now later on the first day, the moon moves forwards and squares up to the Sun. So we have a quarter moon, we have 2 a month. This provides a backdrop of energy for 1 week. Full moons 2 weeks, new moons 1 month. So quarter moons are often overlooked, but they're very important. And it's an echo of the square between Pluto and Venus. 7th house is where you may well be reaching into the needs of others, but if you don't feel heard or recognized or acknowledged, always important to Leos, but with this 10th house energy, what you're searching for is greater recognition. So if your goodwill is not looked after right at the start of this month, that is going to be a factor. Now, I'd also like to make you aware of the midpoint between the moon and the sun. That's in house 8. The 8th house is very much to do with transformations. You've had Saturn there the last year or more, just over a year. And perhaps there has been some changes around some close alliances, business interests. Maybe you've met some headwinds around your costs, around mortgages and rentals. Wouldn't be a surprise, would it really? Or shared finances may have had some tense moments too. But the midpoint here suggests if you are a business person and you're really up for the challenge of trying something new, that links to Jupiter and Uranus in a very productive way at the start of this month. So the tensions that Saturn's created over the last year can be overcome with persistence, but also an openness to change, because change is part of what helps us to reap opportunities. And your nature generally prefers continuity, but because of the big set of energies last month in Aries, your sister fire sign, all about the potential for adventure, independence and expansion, change has been in the air, which brings us to Mars. Mars is a planet which rules the third decan of your zodiac sign. That means the third 10 degrees, each zodiac sign 30 degrees, 10, 10, 10. So the first 10 Sun, subruled the second 10 by Jupiter, the last 10 by Mars. So you have an affinity. So Mars has arrived back in its home sign. In the sign of Aries, Mars is a very dramatic influence. It's going to be here for 6 weeks. But the really potent connection, ironically, is with Pluto. So if you can align with people who do hear you, who also share your sense of excitement, who realize that you're at a point in your life when you're wanting to be very much on the front foot and they're prepared to go with it and support you, what an exciting team you can make. Because the 7th house can be a team, but it also can be, in its link with Mars, where you connect to others and draw knowledge and wisdom from them in a way which expands your understanding, because the 9th house can be about higher knowledge. But Mars and Pluto is a very determined, sometimes willful combination. It will not be overcome. So your determination to see through any challenges that may come up this month is definitely strengthened by that combination. Now, of course, Mercury was retrograde for a large part of April, from the 1st to the 25th, in that 9th house. So some of the things you tried may not have all flowed along quite as you would like. Mercury comes out of its post-retrograde shadow on the 13th of this month. That's welcome, but it starts this month pretty close to the North Node. So that suggests if you listen to your instincts about where you can be more self-expressive, freer, just go with what excites you, that's going to guide you in the right direction as we begin this month. Now, ironically, although Mars and Pluto are linking together through these two zodiac signs for the first time in over 200 years, Pluto then goes into a retrograde on the 2nd. It's going to go on through to the 11th of October, but it will invert back into your 6th house on the 2nd of September. So from then until now, I feel it's very much about relationships. From then on, it will be much more to do with services, the overall structure of your life, the efficiencies in your existence. But if you go into this month really embracing the power and potency of Mars and Pluto, that takes you through the first week. The fact that Pluto goes retrograde is a more subtle influence which will play out for you over a longer period of time. But that's square with Venus. And it's ironic, of course, because Venus and Mars, the two planets of relating but in very different ways, are both feeding into the energy of Pluto, transformation. So the people that you're linking with, the people you want to link with, the people that excite you, is really pivotal to the start of this month. You don't want to be with people who choke off your desire to be more flamboyant. You've suppressed that for too long, Leo. This is your time to shine. That brings us forwards to the 8th of the month, the new moon. New moons are a great opportunity to set our intentions. For you, it's about success. Whatever goals and ambitions you can visualize that will bring the type of lifestyle that you truly want, do put your mind to these. But it does link in a constructive way to Saturn. So if you are wanting to be more entrepreneurial, but also raise your profile, what a sensational new moon this is. If you're someone who's got perhaps a little bit more of a structured lifestyle and it's going pretty well, you can benefit in terms of a property matter. Also, your finances can improve after the strains that perhaps Saturn has put you through over the last year at times. But on the 13th, as I mentioned before, Mercury ends its post-retrograde shadow, but on the 15th, alights in Mercury. If you're less sure about your direction of travel professionally, and all that energy of change in the ninth house of Aries is making you open to new beginnings, it's possible you could retrain around about the 15th. Go on a course. It may be that old skills that you've got can be adapted in a new and fresh way, because through the first 9 days of this month, Jupiter and Uranus are still very much in touch. Of course, they crested in a very visible way for you last month on the 21st. They're still supportive for you at the start of this month as well. But the 20th is an incredibly powerful day for you, because then the Sun moves into your sector of sociability, friendships, long-term planning. But again, it links to Pluto. So whereas Mercury bashes its head with Pluto being in a right angle, once again reminding you that your relationships of a professional kind may not be a straight line this month. The Sun moving into the 11th house just gives you that extra injection of essentially hope that you can visualize not just your ambitions, but the things that go beyond that, the things that inspire you, and the connections you have with people who inspire you, whether it's around your interests, whether it's around your friendship circle, whether it's around your social life, or whether it is around one person in particular. If you can collaborate with someone, the 20th, for about 3 days, some of the most energized times you could have had for many years. But we also have, slowly but surely, Venus moving forwards this month. And of course, the big news story has been about Jupiter and Uranus coming together. But it's Venus and Jupiter that join together exactly on the 23rd. And that can be a significant time if you have been looking for a new job. It can also be a time that in an existing role, you receive more acknowledgement. If you're wanting to do something more creative and gain recognition for that, a wonderful combination there as well. So the conjunction between Venus and Jupiter broadly goes across week 3, so a real window of opportunity. And once again, it's your personality power. Let's go back to who you are. You are Leo. You're ruled by the Sun, therefore you're about radiance. But over the last years, with Pluto going through your 6th house, you've done a lot to support other people and done a lot of work that's been to do with details and practicalities, which is very virtuous. This is your opportunity now to turn up the sunshine once more. So really dazzling opportunities for you. Now the 23rd does see a full moon in your sister fire sign of Sagittarius. But just as this occurs, Venus is coming to the end of its time in Taurus and then switches over to Gemini the same day. If there is someone that you're really enjoying being with, that and Jupiter moving into Gemini on the 25th suggests that your social interaction and the amount of connections you're making and the popularity that you can enjoy can be staggering at the end of this month. What's not to like? Well, it's just the full moon says that you can't please all of the people all of the time, Leo. And you may find yourself having to spin quite a few plates in order to fit everybody in. So the chances are you're going to have to make some decisions. Now, it's possible, if you're really attracted to someone romantically, that your friends could feel a little left out, but it can be in vice versa. If you've been in a relationship for some while and your friendships are taking centre stage at the moment, it could be a partner who feels a little bit pushed out. But just know, Jupiter and Pluto come into an amazing trine as this month draws to a close. It's exact on the 3rd of June, and it goes through the first about 10 days of June. I feel it's the most important aspect of the whole year, even beyond the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus, which is a very structural influence that occurs every 14 years. But if we think about Jupiter returning to Gemini after 12 years, but the Sun also being there, and Venus all linking back to Pluto. What a set of influences for you, because your 11th house is about what you really aspire to, and the 7th house is your connection to others. If there is someone you really get on well with, that relationship can just catch fire with passion, with joy, and with enjoyment as this month draws to a close. But equally, of course, because of the complexities of that right angle between Pluto and Venus at the start of the month, if there is someone who is inhibiting you in some ways from expressing your talent in the wider world, you may have to push back on that through that square, through the quarter moon, and also through Mercury square with Pluto on the 15th. But this is certainly a time not to be knocked off course. This is a time for you to really seize the moment. Leo, we found that 55% of people who watch my videos have not subscribed. If you're one of them, please do subscribe. Help to support this channel. And after you've subscribed, please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. It means every time I drop a video, you'll get an update. Thank you.